everybody, it's Adam and Sam here with a fresh dose of wrestling news. How you doing, Sam?
I'm great, mate. How are you?
Yeah, felt better. Good night. It was a good night. Let's take a look at the headline, shall we? Bryan Danielson's AEW contract details have been revealed. The Demon returned on last night's SmackDown, and Big Tony Khan revealing the All Out Buys. We'll tell you everything you need to know in a bit. Kicking things off with some interesting news regarding the AEW contract details of Bryan Danielson, of course, making his debut for the company on Sunday night at All Out. Hell of a pay-per-view. We'll talk a bit more about it very, very shortly. It's been discussed on Wrestling Observer Radio what Danielson's contract entails. Tell me all about it, Sam.
So there's a little bit more around it as well. So we'll kind of touch on that first before we move into the rest of it, because it's quite interesting how far WWE were willing to go, apparently. But they discussed it at length and said that he had a bit of a difficult decision to make simply because WWE were willing to throw big money at him, and they were wanting to allow him to somehow work with New Japan Pro Wrestling, which is a bit of an unprecedented move for WWE.
It's certainly a big one.
They've had Liger in before, so that relationship maybe has been there recently, just a little bit, even if it was for that one match, a few years back. But historically, they've worked together too. But yeah, they were looking to potentially allow Bryan to go to New Japan and have that figured into his WWE contract. And this is apparently why, or it's suggested that this could be why Nick Khan was so public about wanting that relationship with New Japan while, the Forbidden Door situation was fully underway. Apparently both contracts were of a similar monetary value from AEW and WWE, and both were going to allow New Japan Pro Wrestling dates. But the contract length is reportedly 3 years, and the reason we know this is Meltzer kind of mentions offhand that, well, he still likes Vince as a person, he still appreciates Vince, and he likes working with WWE. So if he is kind of sick of this, come 3 years' time, when it's all done, he can go back there, and the door is very much still open. So
that's cool.
Yeah.
It's a weird one. I remember seeing people on Twitter going like, WWE, they can't have valued Bryan that much if they would let him go. But the fact that they really did bend over backwards there, not many people would get that sort of opportunity to go and work for. And you know what? I think WWE have lost something, not just in a great wrestler on their roster, but on top of that, a guy that sort of would have brought so much to the table, and he would have been at the forefront of WWE's own Forbidden Door. Yeah,
and at the same time, he's just such a fan favourite from whether you're a kid to an adult. It's Daniel Bryan, but in WWE, he was the ultimate underdog, and when you lose somebody of that caliber and that prestige, you're right. There's a big hole now in that company that needs to be occupied, and unfortunately, John Cena and some of the bigger names, they're just not around to come back, so they need to build somebody to fill that gap. And now there are more holes springing up here and there, and rumours of Kevin Owens, etc., and it's
it'll be interesting to see if they do go on to work with a company like New Japan or elsewhere, because I feel like Daniel Bryan could have possibly been integral in a relationship like that, but time will tell. So. Next up, big return happening on SmackDown last night. The Demon is back.
Yes.
Very, very exciting stuff. Tell us what went down.
So, Usos versus the Street Profits main event at SmackDown. Earlier in the night, we had a bit of a to-do between Brock and Roman, and Heyman was kind of in the middle of all of it. Brock making his intentions clear that he wants his property back from Roman, and that he wants to, go back to being champion. And Roman kind of addressed this following the main event, so the Street Profits looked like they were maybe going to have the titles off the Usos at a couple of points, but ultimately, of course, we all know how that's going to end. Roman was looking panicked on the outside. There's a bit of a breakdown in communication, and Roman is able to jump in, and this allows him to lock in the guillotine, and the Usos retained. But then following this, Roman gets on the mic. Roman addresses Lesnar, and he says, "Okay, yeah, you can come for me after I'm done smashing my way through Finn Balor." And then lights go down, big red sun appears inside, and AR appears in Madison Square Garden, and out comes the Demon. So I'm quite nervous about this, Adam, because it feels like the Demon's come back simply to get beat.
I don't mind that, you know. I genuinely, I think that's kind of cool. It's another feather in Roman's cap, isn't it? The Demon has only ever been beaten once by Samoa Joe all the way back in 2016. And I'm not a massive fan of the Demon character, personally. It doesn't do that much for me. I know a lot of people feel differently. But WWE have something very, very special. I guess in the same way as like Undertaker's streak, right? A title doesn't have to be on the line, although it will be and everything. But to beat that character is a massive, massive deal. And as I say, it's another feather in Roman's cap, and he's a guy that's deserving of that. And yeah, it is. It's unfortunately coming. There's this Demon. The timing's all off, isn't it? It's just a little roadblock on the way to Lesnar.
I'm kind of hoping that they're going to do something with it, so that maybe if the Demon loses against Roman and the Demon maybe loses against somebody else, that it overtakes Balor. We've never seen that yet, and I'd be quite excited to see what would happen if we got the Demon consuming Balor, and then Balor has to kind of turn face on himself in a Jekyll and Hyde situation and fight his way out of control from the Demon. But,
I quite like that idea.
You know, for that, you can have him lose a bit, but then you've really got to ramp it up. So it's something we've not seen, and it would be cool, so I'd be quite interested in that. But I'm quite nervous about, he's back! Boom!
Yeah, I get it. I get it. To be honest, the reason that I'm not especially fussed about it in part is because I think the Prince character, the NXT character, is 10 times better.
I prefer it.
I've seen enough of the Demon stuff for now. It doesn't get me that excited.
But
I'm sure it'll be a class match and everything.
It's just the timing, as you said. If maybe they'd waited a bit longer.
Yeah. And you've got, you know what, you've got the added little thread there that Balor never lost the Universal title. He had to give it up, and now he's going for it again. So there's something fun that they can play in as well. Next up, Tony Khan revealing the AEW All Out pay-per-view buys, and as expected, it's a big un. Sam?
So, show us. All right, hang on. Tony appeared on Busted Open Radio, where he kind of, played up the scale of All Out success and really, addressed the fact that everybody was really happy with the show. But the full, actual, official registered total is not yet available, but Khan said it did well over 200,000 buys, which is the most purchased AEW pay-per-view so far, but also it's the first time a non-WWE pay-per-view has had over 200,000 buys since 1999. So
that's a bonkers number. That is like truly, and we don't know. Maybe it could even be close to 300,000 by the time the official figure comes out. But anyway, over 200,000, and it's weird because like we all thought that the wrestling's business model would end up following WWE Network on-demand video with a subscription service. So it's actually kind of cool. To see that pay-per-views can still do well, and that's performed incredibly well.
This is it. The only thing is, on the other side, we're never quite going to have those same figures because of the WWE Network, so we're not really going to get to compare much of this. We never really know the WWE Network viewership figures because it's all in-house. WWE still does sell pay-per-views in certain markets, and I think in every market, but it's just cheaper to get the network. So there will always be numbers posted by WWE or numbers of their events getting posted by providers, but it's only a fraction of the picture. But this is huge for AEW. This is massive.
Yeah, it shows over 200,000 people specifically were interested in that particular show, which it's harder to get that data. Like you could look at sign-ups to the WWE Network or Network on Peacock or whatever in the run-up to a pay-per-view, but who knows what they're actually registering for.
That's it.
This, we know over 200,000 people wanted to see the return of CM Punk. They wanted to see Kenny and Christian and everything else on the amazing show that it was. We are finishing off with some really incredible news, actually. Al Snow saving a child's life. The guy is an absolute hero. News breaking via TMZ that he jumped into the ocean, pulling a small boy from a riptide on Santa Rosa Beach in Florida. So Al was swimming. He heard yelling, screaming, and saw this boy being hit by waves. It looked like he was about to be carried away. He said, I knew I wasn't going to make it on time. The lifeguard wasn't going to make it on time, so he springs into action. He said, I made it, thank God. I caught him just by the arm as a wave started to pull him even further out. If I hadn't grabbed him, I think he'd have probably went out to sea. That would have been it. Incredible.
Yeah.
legit. I mean, what would you say? What
else is the absolute hero? And just on top of that, when he got to the boy, they almost got washed under themselves until the lifeguard was able to take the boy and they were able to get out of the situation. But yeah, on top of that, apparently it was also added into the TMZ story. He mentioned that he got noticed a couple of times by wrestling fans at the beach that day too. So it was an all-round good day for Al Snow.
Well, there's the real story. I don't know why we didn't leave with that.
This is
cool.
it's incredible. Like the fact that he just sprung into action and saved somebody's life.
For sure. Go and send Al Snow some love on Twitter or buy one of his shirts or do something nice because, yeah, what a guy doing an amazing thing. Thank you very much for watching. We will be back in a few hours with a second news video, so keep an eye out for that. And take care of yourselves. All the best. Goodbye.